Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Thursday version of the Sports Exchange. Am I loud? Of course I'm loud. Am I always loud? Yeah, of course, people that know they work with me know that I'm loud. So, meanwhile, glad to have Rod Peterson back after a couple of weeks off. I know he's doing his own thing, hanging out with Joe Girardi and messing around in town. I saw that. That was a pretty good picture of Joe. I actually met him over at the Marlins game, covering the Marlins. Joe's one of the nicer guys around. You've been out there getting the Rod Peterson show. Welcome back to the big show, Rod.
Nice to see you. Happy New Year. Happy belated birthday and anniversary. And we have a new face, a new handsome face in the program tonight. So I'm excited to meet him.
Yeah, well, you sure will. His name is Pensman Swartz. Mike is your first name, right? And this guy, I've known him for a couple of years, and I'm glad that he's with me. He's one of the nicest people I've ever had. He's building his platform, doing a really nice job. And every opportunity I have a chance to get him on a show with me, I love to have him on. So he's a welcome addition to the South Florida Tribune family. And I'll tell you something, Pensman, I don't bring on people. I have a very strict criteria when it comes to bringing on people. But when I bring them on, I expect them to stick around for sure. So with that said, we're going to start off with a basketball topic. I know Rod isn't big on college basketball, but it doesn't take Einstein to figure what I'm out to say. Michigan ranked number 24th, whipped number 22 UCLA 94-75 in Los Angeles Tuesday night, led by Vlad Golden's career high 36 points. Michigan improved to 12-3 under Dusty May, 2 years removed from the Final Four. UCLA coach Mick Cronin, get this, guys, okay, called out his team. It's really hard to coach people that are delusional. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that quote again. It's really hard to coach people that are delusional. Rod, I'm going to go to you first, my friend, okay? If your coach went out there and said it's hard to coach people that are delusional, what is your reaction?
Get out of coaching. That's what it would be, because that would be my first reaction to that, because that's the way the players are now. You see a lot of players a lot of coaches are walking because of the craziness of college sports. If some coach said he's delusional, the players aren't changing, coach, so maybe it's time to go. That's the first thing I think. You asked.
Well, no, and I told you it wasn't going to be cop. And as a result, but Mick Cronin, you got to remember one thing about the UCLA gig, though. And I had the opportunity many years ago to go out there and interview Coach John Wooden, who's my all-time favorite coach and best interview I've ever had. And it's unbelievable pressure that you have, though, Rod, when you're coaching UCLA basketball, the tradition behind everything that goes at Pauley Pavilion. Well, let's take our attention to Dusty May. Dusty May leaves Florida Atlantic, getting $1 million a year, getting over $3 million plus over at Michigan. And he ends up taking over for Juwan Howard, who I believe had like 8 wins or so a year ago. And now he's already eclipsed that total. But I know Dusty May well. I've spent time working with him the last couple of years. If there's anybody that I believe will take Michigan basketball to new heights, Dusty May is it. Again, I met him. I know him. I look forward to the time that I can see him again, whether it's in Ann Arbor and on the road. And I think that since a lot of our following at times could be attributed to FAU, Dusty May, in my opinion, is just unbelievable. And rest assured, he is going to do some unbelievable things. He won't call his guys delusional, but Mick Cronin is trying to motivate by fear to let everybody know. And when you get beaten by 20 points by the Wolverines on your home floor, that's a different situation. Benson, some thoughts?
I'm happy for Michigan. I'm happy for their basketball program. I am a Duke fan, but I am happy for Michigan. I'm glad they have a new coach. Juwan Howard did good, but this new coach, I think he's gonna take them further than what Juwan Howard did. So that's my take.
Yeah, Ward Manuel obviously knew that too. I knew Dusty was going to leave.
Oh yeah,
he went to FAU, so it was a great move. And yes, Joshua Doerr's still a hockey show, but I wanted to lead with Dusty May for sure. So I know Joshua Doer is one of our better people out there when it comes to hockey. So we'll go ahead and continue the hockey theme. The Detroit Red Wings have a 5-game winning streak under new coach Todd McClellan. Mr. Peterson, some thoughts about the hire with Todd McClellan?
Well, we were all kind of waiting for the Wings to make a move on Derek Lalonde. It's been a very disappointing season for Detroit. You're from there, so you get that. And, I might be as disappointed as anybody, because I had the Wings picked to be that team to make a step forward this year. And they had taken a step back. There's been some bad individual seasons, and Steve Yzerman called them out, not by name, but he said there's players that have not lived up to their own expectations or my expectations of them, and that's what led to the firing of Derek Lalonde. Now, Todd McClellan, guys, I've known him 30 years. Watched him play junior hockey in Saskatchewan, interviewed him when he coached junior hockey there, followed his career through the American Hockey League Houston, Detroit once as an assistant coach where he won a Stanley Cup, and then Edmonton, LA. I know his career. And it always seems to me like Todd's the guy that, bless you, Scott.
Thank you.
Todd's the guy that can only take a team so far. I've said that many, many times. And I think that's why he hasn't won a Stanley Cup. It's why I think every coach is hired to be fired, especially in hockey. I think this is the traditional spike after a coaching firing. That's what I think this is. I don't think that Todd McClellan is going to rally them to get into the playoffs. But for the sake of my prediction, I hope that he does, because I had the Wings in and the Lightning out. And as of today, that's not looking like it.
No, but remember, keep in mind, Rod, it is early January. And the thing that I noticed watching some Red Wing games, because I had the Sunrise package here at home, is they were playing lifeless and lackadaisical. And I have not seen that since Todd McClellan took over. So here's a guy that is a proven winner everywhere he's gone. You already illustrated he ended up winning as an assistant coach under Mike Babcock. And if there's anybody that'll light a fire under this team, Todd McClellan's the type of guy that can undoubtedly do it. I'm glad that you know his career as well as you actually really do, because all you're doing is validating what we already know. But the guy's a heck of a coach. He really, really is. All right, let's go to the chat room real quick. We'll keep it going. Yeah, I know Joshua Dorr. I got to have a little bit of fun with Joshua Dorr. I have Tarasenko going to the Panthers at the deadline. But you know what, though? I'm going to make light of this comment here, okay? Not going to put my hands up like Rod. I'm just going to call this a cliche, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, Joshua Dorr style, okay? And we'll leave it at that. Jennifer Lee Cobb, love your show. You know what, Jen? I love you, period. She's my St. Louis Rams cheerleader, one of the finest people in the world. We did some shows together on No Limits, talking and addressing Parkinson's disease. And I'm looking forward to getting Jen back in the lineup later on this year. She's one of my favorite people of all time. She resides in St. Louis, Missouri. And one of the things I really want to do is get out to meet Jen. She's really a class act. We will connect soon, Jen. Mark my word. There isn't a day that goes by when I don't think about you at all. And mark my word, we'll do that. So glad you're on the show anyways. So, Penguin, some thoughts about Todd McClellan.
Like you said, when they had their old coach, they were playing lazy. I thought when I'm a Penguins fan, for you guys that just don't know me and just see me for the first time, I'm a Penguins fan, but they were playing flat. The Red Wings were playing flat. They were playing soft. Now that the new coach came in, I've seen some highlights of them. They are getting to the puck. Their forechecking is amazing. They're shooting the puck. They're getting to the net. It's like a brand new team. It's amazing what a new face does to the organization.
Especially one that has over 600 wins, Rod. This guy, I'm telling you, man, he's got over 600 career wins. Not like he started yesterday. And again, you have to like the mindset of the guy. You always like a coach. Rod, let me ask you, you've been around the hockey game for a while. So when you go ahead and judge a hockey coach, okay, what are the biggest characteristics that you judge in a hockey coach? Give me 2 or 3 things right now, Rod, that you judge in a hockey coach.
I think we all look at wins. And it's funny because when Paul Maurice was hired here, there was a lot of Panthers fans that said, who is this guy? He's never won a Stanley Cup. Who is this guy?
Right.
And I was like, it's not always about that. Paul Maurice is a winner. But before he came to Florida, he had never won a Stanley Cup. I'd love to know what Joshua Dorr or yourself or Scott or Mike thinks about Paul Maurice. Like, it's not, I get the ring is the thing. In the NFL, it's about Super Bowls and championships. I just frankly look at wins. I mean, there's a different criteria. Do you want a young coach? Do you want an old coach? Do you want a guy that's been around? It kind of look for a right fit. Because the one thing I'm hearing about the Wings, and the pundits are saying the chemistry's not right there. Whether it's Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, those young guys, Sider, whatever, something's not right. And the coach walked the plank because they always do. But to answer your question, I generally look at wins, Scott, depending on how long they've been around. Wins and history. Like Josh said, Todd's been fired everywhere he goes, but you know what? So was Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice was fired in Toronto and fired in Carolina. He walked from Winnipeg. So listen, if there was one way to do it, everybody would do it, right?
Okay, so now that I like your answer. It's really actually a good answer, but I'll give you my answer, and then I'll defer to Pensman, and that's this. Okay, for me, it's about intensity. Okay, because you want your guys to play with intensity, and I'll tell you one thing: you have experience and intensity. And let me tell you, when you're an established coach with experience, and your guys aren't playing with intensity, then you get rid of them and you bring somebody else in. And all he ended up doing, Rod. Okay, as I was looking at the developments during the course of the holiday season, you guys are here to play hockey. That's it. Have fun playing hockey. These guys weren't doing it. So if you're gonna light a fire, okay, intensity, motivation. I don't care about motivation. Give me somebody that's really intense and passionate about what they're doing. The wins are gonna come. They will, especially have decent talent. So I guess the big word for me, Rod, is intensity. Is what I want. If I had to coach a team, I want hard work and I want intensity. Show up every night and go to work. You're playing a stinking game and you're getting paid for it, right? Would you agree?
I do, but it just depends on what Mike Sullivan. If you watch the Penguins right now, they're working real hard, but I don't think they're in a playoff spot. So Mike Sullivan 10 years ago is different than Mike Sullivan now. Do you know what I mean? And I think at one time Detroit was playing with fire for Derek Lalonde, but they weren't. You know what I mean?
So you can't even put him in the same sentence as Todd McClellan. This guy's a laid-back guy from Tampa, is what he is. I'm not demeaning anything you're saying, Rod. I'm not. I'm just saying Derek Lalonde to me is one of those, real nice guy, came from Tampa.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, he is. I've never met him, but everybody that I still have contacts in Detroit let me know what the guy's about. And Todd McClellan is one of those guys that, hey, I'm all business. I don't care who you are. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And he got, like you said, Rod, the wins to show for it.
Yeah.
So you got the wins to show for it. How did he get the darn wins, Rod? Intensity and hard work. So what you said is right with wins, but you have to get there some way, right? And that's the ticket. Let's go back to the chat room. Okay, we got blows on there. Hello, all. It's just pundits. I heard Rod say pundit. That was a good reference. I like that one. You don't know about pundits. That was a show in the past. All right, Pensman, what's your thoughts? Give me your take on all what we just talked about here.
Well, your question, you have to have wins for history. You got to know the chemistry of the team first, and then you got to know the sport. If you don't know the sport, you might as well not even coach. So that's what I take from that.
Okay. All right. Winter Classic 2026. Rod wrote about it. Guess what? When Rod writes about it, what do we do, Rod?
Talk about it.
Bingo. What's his name? Oh, am I loud? No, I get loud. Of course, I on one part of my studio, I don't have any neighbors. On the other part, it don't matter because he's never there anyway. So right now, I save my intensity to come back for this show. Great stuff. All right, Winter Classic 2026 will feature the Florida Panthers hosting the New York Rangers at Lone Depot Park. Tampa Bay Lightning hosting Boston Bruins at Raymond James Stadium. Rod, question number one, my friend. Okay, and that's this. What are your thoughts about the Florida Panthers and New York Rangers matchup as a whole? I don't want predictions. I want as a whole.
I think it's amazing. I can't believe, to be honest, the furor over this. And I don't know how much you guys have heard. You know that I stick to the hockey world and football, but there's a lot of people that are against this. A lot of them are from where we come from, Scott, the northern climate. They're like, what are you doing playing outdoor hockey in Florida? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. One of those is my beautiful wife, Serena. She thinks this is a dumb idea. She thinks there's too many outdoor games. It is, but you asked for my opinion. I can't wait. I'm incredibly excited about it. I'll be there at Lone Depot Park, and I'm hoping to be at Raymond James Stadium too, because I love hockey. I love watching live hockey. The Panthers are one of only 3 teams to never have played in an outdoor game. So I don't know about you, but I feel like it's got people buzzing around here.
And they deserve it. They deserve to be in the Winter Classic, and the Winter Classic is awesome. Especially when they're coming out of when they're coming into the ice. That's just an awesome intro. And then in Chicago, they had at the Steelers Stadium a couple years ago, and that was electric. But the Winter Classic is awesome. And the Florida Panthers, they deserve to be in the Winter Classic. If you win the championship, I don't know if that's one of the tickets to get into the Winter Classic, but they deserve to be in it. I'm proud of them.
All right, Candy, I like Josh Ador's comment. This has got me laughing, and it takes a lot to get me laughing. I'd like to see other panelists to bring Scott energy on this show. That's
Not
probably
possible.
one of the that's true. But that's one of the reasons I like going on the Rod Peterson show, so my Canadian brothers can see the energy that comes out of this hat called the Motor City Manual. Great stuff, Josh Ador. So I do know how to pep people on the back when they make comments that I think are, as Jimmy Walker would say, a good time. Dynamite. There you go. Everybody remember Jimmy Walker?
Yes.
I could get a lot worse than that. I hope to see Scott and Rod cover that game together. Anything's possible. Rod and I still have a lot of plans we're looking to do right now. I'm just trying to get through some medical issues to see how long I can
Scott.
Some of the other stuff. Go ahead, Pence.
Could you scroll up to JD?
Yeah, go ahead. Candy, go ahead. Just
yeah,
put it
that I want you to meet him and have him on our show. He talks all kinds of Florida sports, and I think he'll be a good addition to the sports. But I want your approval on him. I want you to talk to him on whatever you have to. But him and I,
we'll do that. Well, here's what you need to do, Pence. Get him to subscribe to our channel, then reach out to us, and we'll bring him on.
He's already subscribed.
All right. Well, then you know what? All those arrangements will be made through Candy. I believe, and we'll bring him on. We can bring him on whatever show we want. Yeah, I always like to bring on new people for sure. I'm all the way.
There you are, JD. There you go, buddy. I got you hooked
JD,
up.
I always like to welcome new people, and if he's on Twitter, at Tribune South gets it done as well. You can follow us there as well. So, all right,
bro.
So there you go. There you got the ticket. Okay, as Blow said, I hope to see Scott and Rod cover that game together. Anything possible. Rod and I will eventually get out there and cover games together. I'm just trying to get cleared by some medical people about what I'm able to do. And if I can't drive, Mr. Peterson's going to pick me up anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. He'll drive and I'll drive him crazy. I'll bet everybody's waiting at these places to see it. It's all good. All right. Anyways, I want to talk about that matchup too with the Panthers and Rangers. This is such a big no-brainer. I have never seen a bigger no-brainer than this. And I'll give you a few different reasons. Number one, okay, the Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, you know darn well that's a big draw. When the Miami Heat take on the New York Knicks, it's a war, right? Florida Panthers, New York Rangers.
The Rangers were just here. I can't remember the date of the game. It was after Christmas, but the Panthers beat them 5-3 as part of this homestand that they're on right now. I was there. That was that night, Igor Shesterkin got hurt in goal for the Rangers. But, guys, I could not believe the amount of Rangers fans in attendance. Despite their struggles, and they're nowhere near a playoff spot now, the New York Rangers, that rink was 50-50 Rangers fans and Panthers fans. So maybe they chose the Rangers to help sell tickets. I don't know. I don't know if the viewers have an opinion on that. What do you think? That's a lot of tickets I got to sell for Lone Depot Park to fill that place.
Well, let me ask you a question, Rod. You know how far of a drive it is from I-95 from New York City to Miami?
18 hours, 20 hours.
Right there. Yeah, 18 to 20. I've taken that drive. I could probably make it sooner with my lead foot, but let me tell you, doesn't matter what I'm on that day, but it's an 18 to 20 hours. So trust me, that's a great matchup. And Shell got it right. The Lightning and the Bruins isn't a bad matchup, but if I had to choose between the two matchups, the way they set out, the Rangers and the Panthers I'm in all the way on that one. They got that one right. One area that the NHL didn't get it right, though, unfortunately, was a recent Winter Classic at Wrigley Field as the St. Louis Blues won 6-2 over the Chicago Blackhawks. It drew 920,000 people on TNT. All right, Rod Peterson, what do they have to do to get it right and improve those numbers next year? And after this, we go to a station break.
I don't know. Maybe not move the game. Like, if you're following this, it's traditionally New Year's Day that they play the Winter Classic, but they moved it, and the NHL has admitted to this. They moved it to New Year's Eve as to avoid the triple-header college football playoff on New Year's Day. Right. You can't tell me that didn't have something to do with it. Right. Two, well, and by the way, it's going to be January 2nd next year, so they're moving it again. Two, the Chicago Blackhawks have been in the game 7 times, so I think there's some fatigue there. You know, even though Connor Bedard is the face of the league, I think people are getting tired of Chicago being in the Winter Classic. For instance, Florida has never been in one. So I think that would help too. But so they've changed the teams. They're moving the day again. I don't know. I watched it. It was a bad game. That's not the NHL's fault. Like, I tuned it in. I love Chicago's jerseys. I did not care for St. Louis's jerseys, but it looked like a pretty good spectacle at Wrigley Field. But I'm a hockey fan, gentlemen. I'm going to tune in no matter what. Maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask. Did you guys watch it? Were you not part of the 920,000 like I was?
I didn't watch it, but the only thing I'm going to add to what you just talked about is Chicago Blackhawks are a bad hockey team. Right
Very
now.
bad.
So that doesn't help when your original 6 teams is bad and then they get blown out 6-2. I didn't watch it. I don't know what I was doing. I was a little hungover from the Pop-Tarts bowl out in Orlando, which we had some pretty good success covering that game. It was really a good one for us. So, all right, go ahead, Penz. What are your thoughts about this? And then we go to a station break.
Well, to answer Rod's question, it was December 30th is that 5-3 Panthers and Rangers game. I just looked that up just for Rod, because he said he wasn't sure of the date. So I just wanted to do that. So it's just, I think the Winter Classics I watched a little bit of it. It was a good, exciting game. It was back and forth for a little bit until the second period. And the jerseys, I like the Chicago jerseys, like Rod said, but I don't know. The other ones I didn't care for. So, and I'm a hockey player. Whenever hockey's on, I like to watch it whenever free. So,
the only thing I'll say to this whole thing is this: these games belong on ABC. Period. That's it. Nothing against TNT, ESPN. They belong on ABC. Big network.
They do best coverage too.
Well, there's another reason. So not on a good network. Saw Chicago too many times, and you moved the day. They're not helping themselves.
True. But, Rod,
and
they need to be on ABC. They need to be on ABC, pal. They don't need to be on cable partners. Even though everything is all lumped together where everything you can find it, forget about it. ABC. And when you had it on NBC, it drew well anyways. So you got to have, I don't really worry about my alphabet, okay? But I do know ABC is one of them. And I remember growing up with George Eichhorn, WXYZ. You know what that stands for? The first place I worked. Okay, so I do know my alphabet a little bit.
It's not 1968. Everybody has cable, Scott.
Big stinking deal. ABC's always been ABC. NBC, CBS. It don't matter. Put it on them. Okay, Rod. I love giving you a hard time because you're my
Scott,
another mother.
It's either somebody has it or they're streaming it. They either have cable or they're streaming some other device. They have Roku and Fire Stick and all that.
I'm teasing him. Scott's right.
We're streaming this show. We're streaming
I'll put my 2 cents in.
Right, we are. We're streaming the show. ABC, if that's your partner. You haven't seen CBS forever. NBC. Fox used to have it. Remember Peter Buck years ago? Anybody remember Peter Buck? I do. Yeah, I know.
See, we got another streamer.
And there's another one here. Here, Peterson, let me ask you this. Who was one of the color analysts on NBC?
Gary Dornhofer. I don't know. What?
Ted Lindsay, sick them head.
Okay, I was gonna say, what are we talking about?
I'm talking about NBC when they had it out. That's what I had. So I had to throw him a curveball in the show somewhere. I didn't even think about this until the top of my head because you were out there giving me so much energy to fuel me about going back to national television partners. That's kidding with your brother, Ron. I would think about it. But no, Ted Lindsay, Peter Buck were connected many years ago. In fact, I'll even take it a step further. Tim Ryan used to call those broadcasts for NBC at the time. Katie's on. What do you got to add other than station break? What else you want?
Station break.
There you go.
Ready? The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple and Google Books. The audiobook is coming, and I know I've been saying that for a while, but it truly is coming. We're very close to the finish line on that. You can go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can have a link to this book. You can have a link to our merchandise store, and you can actually go out and read Rod's columns, Scott's columns. I take a picture or two. Go check out the website. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see a red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to our channel. Honestly, I don't know why you haven't yet. It's one of the best channels out there. Please hit subscribe. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what we're going to be talking about. TBD, to be determined. If you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you have any show ideas or want to be a guest, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to the awesome show.
Thanks, Candy. Tiger Stripes Media says I stream NASCAR. Let me tell you, this year you're going to see a lot of NASCAR being streamed. I don't know how many actual NASCAR events are going to be on the major networks, but they got a sweet deal there anyway. So good stuff. Let's keep going through the comments. A lot of them are outstanding tonight. I want to make sure we cover as many of them as we can as we continue moving forward to the last couple of topics. Yeah, D-Lo, you know it, brother. I wrote a book, and I'm working on a second one. Mr. Peterson figures to get a little bit of he'll get a mention or two or three here and there. Go ahead, Rob. What you got to say, brother?
I just had a question before you move on, and I know it's your show, not mine, but the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I was watching it on television.
Yeah.
And when Cam Ward pulled himself in the second half, the television commentator said he was injured. We would go on to learn that he pulled himself and he was not injured, right?
Correct.
What was your take on that situation?
Surprise. Candy, go ahead. You got some inside information. Answer it for Rod, please.
So the inside information I have is that the New York Giants scouts were there and asked him to play in at least the beginning of the game because they wanted to see him because they knew they have the top couple of picks. So they asked him to play. He played half. I think Miami truly wanted to see what Emery could do in the second half because they knew that Cam was going, and this was his 1 year and then he's done. So he was not coming back. Before the transfer portal was done, before the end of the season, they wanted to see how Emery could rebound from his injury that he had last year and how he would perform under the difficult task of trying to help and see what they had with him and how he gelled with the rest of the team so that they knew what they need to get, the pieces of the puzzle that they need to bring in to the system. So I think that's really what we saw and they won't come out. Mario Cristobal will never come out and say that exactly, but I think that's the exact take that we saw and why we saw what we did.
Okay, cool. What a time to be alive. The broadcasters weren't even informed this was going on, and it was very confusing.
Well, let me tell you, let me add to that, Rod, while you brought that up. I'm in the press box, okay, with a couple of the beat writers that are good colleagues of mine, and we saw Cam Ward being taken out, and we saw Emery come in. And I said, Jordan and Adam, my two buddies there, you see this coming? No, he never told us. He didn't tell me either. And I'm one of the ones that travels with the team. So Mario, and also Rod, while you brought that up too, let me point out on next week's edition of Inside the Pigskin that because we were so busy trying to catch up with a lot of NFL stuff and college football, I'm going to be doing a little bit more Canes coverage on next Tuesday night's edition of Inside the Pigskin, talk a bit more about Cam Ward as well. But I'm glad you brought it up tonight because Candy, the one thing that Candy exhibited when she was on the field, Rod and Pensman, is she has this sideline reporter instinct where she's able to pick things up with her ears that nobody can hear because she's taking pictures. When you can get that kind of insight instead of speculation because she's on the field, it doesn't get any better than that, right?
Oh, no.
So on Tuesday night, on Inside the Pigskin, we will be talking a lot of Miami Hurricanes football in addition to the NFL playoffs and the college football playoff. But I'm glad I didn't have a chance to do it this week because when you're coming back, you're trying to catch up a little bit and prioritize certain topics as you do. But mark my word, we're just getting this year started with a lot of incredible stuff, and that's what we're doing. But Mark, let me tell you something, Rod. That was a dynamite question. Thank you very much for bringing it up. I really did for a lot of Canes fans that are out there. And we hope a lot of the Michigan Wolverine fans that are tuning in tonight an opportunity to realize that Dusty May was a heck of a hire, and 2 years removed from a Final Four. I knew he would turn that program around. You bring Vlad Golden, arguably the best player on FAU, to a team. Dusty May practically ripped the whole roster apart, and look what he's got, a 12-3 record, going out to UCLA to end up beating them by 20 points. So for those of you that are just joining us tonight, you'll be able to see hear a lot more of our stuff at the beginning of the show as we've been able to transition into hockey as well. So glad to have Penzan on tonight and hope George Eichern feels better. I look forward to having Penzan on the show probably more often. Rod obviously is a fixture with it with myself, so it is what it is. Rod just acclimates whoever I put in front of him and blends in nicely. All right, let's go ahead and do a little bit of flying. Called the Winnipeg Jets are hanging tough, leading the Western Conference with a 28-12-2 mark, 58 points, 2 points ahead of the Minnesota Wild, who had 56 points. Rod, you and I addressed this before. Okay, the Winnipeg Jets are hanging in there, and they're doing it with Connor Hellebuck. So why don't you give me your thoughts about how they're managing to keep it, and are they still going to be a force as the year goes on?
It's going to be like every other team. If they stay healthy, they're good enough. They've proven through this first half. I mean, this week marks the midway point of the season. Winnipeg's posted pretty much a wire-to-wire first place showing. I think they're number 2 to Vegas right now, or even after tonight, they'll be number 2 to Vegas, but they're up there. So they just got to stay healthy, and they have a shot. But, Connor Hellebuck's going to be honored at their next home game for getting his 300th career win. Fastest American goalie to ever do it. I don't know what to say other than they've proven they're a great team. But we've known that for a while, right? So they just got to stay healthy, and they'll have a chance. They do have a new coach in Scott Arniel. Not a rookie coach, but he's a first-year coach in Winnipeg. So they still have a little to prove, but I think they're good enough. They are what we think they are.
Penzan, any thoughts about the Winnipeg Jets?
Like Rod said, if they stay healthy, if you stay injury-free, you can go a long way, because if you get your backups, they don't know what they're doing, and you got to keep your lines in check, and you got everything. You got to just make sure you know who your lineman is, and then if you get that, then everything's good. They're solid. I was watching them a couple of times. They're a solid team. They're fast. I mean, like I said, they stay healthy, you're good.
Rod and I talked about this before. I'm going to reiterate again for those of you joining us for the first time. I would be intrigued, and I repeat, intrigued is the word I'm going to use here, if the Winnipeg Jets and Florida Panthers clash in the Stanley Cup. Paul Maurice against his old team.
I would love it.
Life is full of storylines, right? Anybody that's been in the business for a while, everybody's looking for a good story. And I should let everybody know that are joining us, Candy Ebling and I will be over at Super Bowl in New Orleans. We're going to be covering it for the South Florida Tribune as well. My goal here is to be able to go out there and get as many quality interviews as I can for the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So we appreciate everybody that continues to support this channel and any of the other channels that are out there. Rod's going to have a chance in a few minutes to talk about his Penman as well as one of our rising stars in the organization as well. So Candy and Ebling and I are going to be at it out in New Orleans in about 2-3 weeks. And Rod, think about it. If you ever need me and I have time to come on a show from the Super Bowl, keep it in mind. You don't have to do it, but
you're in.
Hey,
you're in.
He's just waiting for me to go ahead and mention it.
No. I already got you penciled in. I do want to say, Penzman, first of all, is right. The Winnipeg Jets are probably the fastest team in the NHL. So good eye by you. I think anybody would agree that they're the fastest team in the NHL, which, by the way, is saying something when it's the fastest the sport has ever been. But number 2, good. Then I can say the Rod Peterson show is going to be at Super Bowl in the form of Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, whom our viewers all love. So that's going to be fun.
It'll be good to come on next week and then be able to follow it up a couple of weeks later in New Orleans. I've been in New Orleans, so keep in mind for a lot of events. Let me name a couple before we get to the last topic. I remember covering the Final Four back in 1982. Yours truly was 20 at that time. You can only imagine what age you were, Peterson. And I don't know if Kenton was alive. And then I've also covered Lions and the Saints over there, and I covered the New Orleans Bowl. And when he goes to Bourbon Street, is unbelievable. While I'm mentioning New Orleans, though, I do want to make sure that my heartfelt prayers are to those individuals out there with the New Orleans terrorist attack. And I hope and pray for the families that have suffered loss over in New Orleans. Looking forward to getting there. But I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to my Pat O'Brien's Hurricanes, because that may be one of the only things that will shut me up. And it doesn't take much to shut me up, except the trazodone, and I'm out all day. But those are meds that are prescribed. So, again, all seriously speaking, my thoughts and prayers are out to those individuals out in New Orleans who have suffered loss. And I'm looking forward to returning to New Orleans. And this will be Candy's first rodeo out in the New Orleans area. It's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of partners that will be able to partner up with the shows, get more and more guests, liven things as we're going to continue to do. So last topic of the night. Unfortunately, we have to go from one situation in New Orleans to another one that occurred last night. The NHL postponed Wednesday's game between LA Kings, Calgary Flames due to Los Angeles wildfires. What a shame, Rod. Yeah, I know that as I read earlier that the crypto arena had some smoke inside, so you can see it out there. It was a right call, wasn't it, Rod?
Oh, for sure. And I'm assuming you saw the NFL has moved Monday's playoff game. The
Not yet.
Rams and the.
Not yet. Not
I
yet.
officially got it just before we went to air. I got a notification.
Oh.
Oh, I
from
didn't know
ESPN.
that. Okay.
I didn't
you're
know
giving us
either.
new news.
Yeah,
Okay.
just before we went to air, I got a notification from ESPN that they have.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
go back and look to make sure that that's correct. So,
Okay.
listen, these leagues, as you know, absolutely. Here it is. NFL moves
Yes.
Vikings Rams playoff game Monday to Glendale because of wildfires in LA. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Great job,
was the-
Rod.
yeah,
Good
every
job.
league affected now.
Great job. I'm glad you brought that news up there. So there you go. The playoff game will be over in Glendale over at State Farm Stadium. So there you go. So anyways, Pensman, some thoughts.
Because I was watching the
Calgary.
ESPN, they said it might be a last-second decision.
Yeah.
That was a great
anyway,
move.
hey,
It was a
glad
smart
to have
move.
Jay in
They-
here
they-
today. Look
they
at this
protected
guy.
everybody.
We got Jay in the building. Great stuff, Jay. He's
Yeah.
a friend of the show too, Rod. This Jay is classic. He's got a few of our books already. I got to ask you a question though, Rod. Okay, how far are you when it comes to reading my book? Are you just about finished, my brother?
No,
How far you got to go? How many pages you got?
No.
about halfway to go.
That's okay. That's all right. It's a textbook. That's okay. They always say because God delays does not mean that God denies. So I'll go out there and pin that tag on Peterson because God delays him finishing it doesn't mean he'll deny it.
I'm pretty sure the book isn't
going.
going anywhere.
I'm sure.
Believe I'm fairly busy, believe it or not. I got a lot of stuff going on. So
I'm just busting your chops just like you like to bust mine. But that's
there's
okay. At
nothing
least
like
you
it.
haven't.
There's nothing like it. But we're going to Chicago in 10 days, by the way, I should tell you. I don't think it'll affect me appearing on this show in terms of timing, but it was a birthday present from Serena. We're going to watch 2 Blackhawks games. They're playing Carolina and Vegas, and I'm pretty excited about that. So a lot of airplane time. I'll be able to read Scott's book. I know it'll put me to sleep.
Wow.
Hey, if anything, what it might do, Rod, if when you do get to the finish line, you might learn a thing or two. Although not to say you haven't learned anything up to this point. But
Wow.
Hey, Benson, one thing you gotta understand about Peterson and I love the way that we can kick each other around and nobody really takes anything personal, right, Rod? We just go out there and he does it to me. So I'm just gonna.
No, I just like
give
how
it
Ron
back to
said
this
that.
guy.
I know it'll put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Hey, if
I'll
we're
tell you
not
what.
teasing you, that's a bad thing. When do we
What?
start
Yeah.
teasing you? You know, Pensman, you tease people that you like. You don't talk
yeah.
to people you don't like.
Right.
That's
Well,
right.
they don't make it anyways. They don't make it. I could go to a Joshua Dorr reference, and this is funny, although I don't really use it on my shows. Yeah, but Joshua Dorr's crazy in this respect in a positive way. They got to get through our system. He always knows what his system is anyway, but they got to get through my system if they're going to come back. But, I like to use analogies that other people bring on because it's all about having fun. The one thing I pride myself on this platform is this. We're here to entertain and educate. And as long as we could do both of those, we've done our job. Our goal certainly is to reach as many people as possible. But you know what? The topics have to be on point. Everybody has to have the energy. They can't be boring. Rod and I can tell you right now, our shows are anything but boring, right? How long have you worked with me, Peterson?
Wait till
There
I
you
see
go.
something.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, he opens his mouth. What do you want me to put in it? Some
This
wings?
is the 6th month. I was adding it up today. We started doing these in August. I started working with you in August.
So he opened his mouth. I didn't know if he wanted me to go out there and feed him a chicken wing and go out there and take that thing down bad to the bone. There you go. Look at that stuff. Although Rod and I and Serena did go out there, and Rod's looking at me. Man, I'll tell you, I've never seen anybody eat a chicken wing down to the bone like you, right, Rod?
That's right. Congratulations. Duffy's didn't see you coming.
No, Duffy's always sees me coming. All they got to do is look at my MVP card. They know I'm coming. But anyways, great. Enjoy having both of you two on tonight. So with that said, just coming up after our show, we got Fire Up. Pensman does double duty tonight. He'll be joined by Jeremy Bulrick. He'll be joined by Ralph Williams. And he's going to be joined by the queen of the country club, Candy Ebling. Candy, why don't you come on here real quick and give everybody a basic preview of what you have in store tonight?
We're going to be talking some college football. We're going to be talking some NFL playoffs. And then we're going to be talking about college sports and what schools have brought in the most money? Which do you think? And if you don't know, you're going to have to tune in to find out.
OSU.
Tune in to find out. I'm not going to reveal anything on this show. You got to tune in at 9 o'clock.
It's a good lead-in, though.
Pensman
Yeah.
says no. I'm like,
Yeah.
now I gotta watch.
Yeah. Blows is the trip. He's one of my favorite guys. I like to kick around too. Please don't talk about food on the show. And then he goes KFC. All right. Well, I guess let's go back to Mick Cronin's comments about delusional, because that's exactly where that comes into play. Delusional. But I put it up there for the sake of getting reactions. So it is what it is. Can't help it. Our first show back, and we're having a ball, and I bring out
It's a good start. It's a good start.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One thing about Peterson, though, he's going to learn as we continue this thing. This guy's realizing after 6 months, he's got so much up his bag of tricks. You can't even keep with me if you tried. And I'm glad that you don't, Rod, because you know what? It's good that we both understand the professional way that we go about taking care of business, and then take those philosophies and blend them and mesh them into what we're doing here on Thursday nights here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. Obviously presented by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company and everything else that Candy talks about tonight. With that said, Candy's going to give us one last station break. Pensman's going to let everybody know how they can get a hold of him. Rod's going to do the same. And then Rod and I will go ahead and make plans to go on the Rod Peterson show, hopefully next week if he'll figure it out. And, of course, he now can take it to his bosses out there in Canada that we have some representation at the Super Bowl. And then they can go out there and take their lollipop and lick that thing right to the little stick there, because we're going to have some good stuff out in the Super Bowl. Go ahead, Candy.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see the red subscribe button, that means you have not subscribed. Please do so. And then please share us with all your friends and family, whoever you think would enjoy all of our great content. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday and Thursday nights on Sports Exchange and Fire Up. You never know what topics we're going to be bringing up. So you always have to tune in to find out. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It's about his 40-plus years in the media business and how the industry has changed, old school media versus new school media. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google and Apple Books. Audiobook to come out later. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can read the fabulous writings of Mr. Rod and Mr. Scott. They both write for us. And then I take pictures. I dabble here and there. So go check out the website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you want to be a guest on a show or have show ideas, please email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to sponsor a show, you can call Scott, 954-304-4941. Back to the program, Scott.
Great stuff, Candy. Pensman, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
You can find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel, 714 subscribers as of today. And you can find me on X at Pensman Sports.
Great stuff. Growing the channel. So we like to see. But one thing I should tell about Pensman, known the guy a couple of years, and I'll tell you one thing. I am so delighted to have him as part of my network. He's come a long way, and more importantly, he's a great friend. And I look forward to bringing him on the air anytime I get an opportunity to bring Pensman. He's class all the way. The other guy that's class all the way is sitting to the bottom. His name is Rod Peterson. Rod, let everybody know they can hold you all the shows and whatnot. Go ahead, Rod.
You see it on the screen at Rod Peterson. Give us a follow right there. I'm looking up Pensman Sports, and I can't find it. So you're gonna have to find me on Twitter, brother, so I can give you a follow. Pensman Sports. Yeah, I can't find it on here, but at Rod Peterson will get you to our daily talk show, the Rod Peterson Show on Game Plus TV. Our weekly podcast, the Cats and Bolts podcast, award-winning, covering Florida NHL hockey, and, of course, our loving project, the South Florida Tribune. It's all linked from at Rod Peterson.
I'm sure one of these days I'll make my way over to the Junkie Studios and shoot the breeze with the Florida fans. And I tell you, you do a good job of writing for us, Rod. Your writing is off the charts, and I'm glad that you're able to take your Panther stuff and put it on our platform certainly enhances your credibility as well, knowing that we have representation at the game in the form of a guy that's been covering hockey for a boatload of years. Go ahead, Benson.
I just followed you.
Okay, brother. Thank you so much. All right, everybody.
So with that said, that does conclude this edition of the Sports Exchange. On behalf of Pensman Sports and Rod Peterson, my name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Look forward to having George Vicker, and hopefully next Thursday. If not, Pensman will probably more than come on if he wants to come on. But meanwhile, Fire Up is next. Great show. Got a lot more work ahead of us. Happy New Year 2025. Great stuff, everybody. Thanks for joining us.